Have you ever stopped to think about the instruction manual for a human being, or a strawberry, or even a tiny little bacterium? You might be surprised to hear they all use the same fundamental language. And today, we are cracking the code of life itself, DNA. So, let's start with the big idea. Think of DNA as the ultimate blueprint. You know how an architect has a detailed plan for building a house? Where the walls go, where to put the windows, all of it? Well, DNA does the exact same thing for a living organism. It tells our cells how to build everything, from your hair color to the rhythm of your own heartbeat. It is the master plan. So, where is this unbelievably important blueprint kept? Well, it's not just left lying around, that's for sure. To find it, we have to zoom way in. I mean, from the scale of a person into just one of their trillions of cells, and right into the very center, into a tiny, secure vault called the nucleus. It's kind of like the cell's command center and its library all rolled into one. Now get this, if you were to take all the DNA from just one of your cells and stretch it out, it would be about 2 meters long. So how in the world does all of that fit inside a microscopic nucleus? The secret is some truly incredible packaging. The long DNA thread is wound super tightly around these little protein spools, and then it's coiled again and again and again until it forms these dense little structures we call chromosomes. Okay, so we know where the code is stored and how it's packed away, but what is it actually made of? Let's unspool that thread and take a look at the real building blocks. You'll see it all comes down to a surprisingly simple 4-letter alphabet. The most basic unit, the letter of our code, is something called a nucleotide. And this little unit is really simple. It's just made of 3 parts: a phosphate, a sugar, and something called a base. You can think of the phosphate and the sugar as the paper and ink. They're always the same, providing the structure. The really crucial part, the piece that actually carries the information, is the base. And here's the amazing thing. There are only 4 options: adenine, which we just call A, thymine, or T, cytosine, C, and guanine, G. A, T, C, and G. That's it. The entire complex genetic code for every living thing on this planet is written with just those 4 letters. But here's the thing, DNA isn't a single strand of letters. It's actually a pair of strands that connect in the middle, kind of like a ladder. And once they connect, the whole structure twists into that beautiful, iconic shape we all know, the double helix. The sides of the ladder are made of those repeating sugars and phosphates, and the rungs of the ladder, those are our bases. Now, the bases can't just pair up with whichever one they want. Nope, there's a very strict rule. Adenine, A, always pairs with thymine, T, and cytosine, C, always pairs with guanine, G. A super simple way to remember this is apples in the tree, A, T, and cars in the garage, C, G. And believe me, this rule is absolutely fundamental to everything DNA does. So, we have our letters, we know how they're structured. Now, for the really cool part. How do these letters combine to form meaningful instructions? How do you get from just A, T, C, and G to a complex, living organism, like you? The instructions are written in words, and we call these words genes. A gene is just a specific section of DNA that holds the instructions for one specific thing, and that thing is usually one specific protein. So for example, one gene might be the recipe for the protein that determines your eye color, while a totally different gene is the recipe for making insulin. And here's what's so critical to understand. It's not just about having the letters A, T, C, and G. It's about the order they are in. The sequence is absolutely everything. A tiny change in that sequence can change the entire meaning of the instruction. This little analogy on the left illustrates the point perfectly. Look at the letters E, A, and T. In that order, they spell eat, which means one thing. But just rearrange those exact same letters, and you get T, something completely different. It works just like that in biology. The same bases in a different order create a totally different biological instruction. Okay, so we've got a blueprint, it's written in genes, and it's stored safely in the nucleus. But how does the cell actually read that blueprint and start building things? How do we go from a static code to a dynamic reality? Well, biologists call this whole process the central dogma. Now, that sounds pretty complicated and intimidating, but honestly, the idea is just a simple one-way flow of information. It describes how the master instructions in the DNA archive get turned into the functional proteins that actually do all the work in our cells. We can break it down into two pretty simple steps. Step one is transcription. Think about it. You wouldn't take the original, priceless master blueprint to a muddy construction site, would you? No way. You make a copy. That's exactly what transcription is. The cell makes a temporary, working copy of a gene. Then comes step two, translation. That copy is taken out of the nucleus to the cell's factories, where its message is read or translated to build a protein.
And here you can see the whole story in one picture. The DNA code for eye color gets transcribed into a message. That message is translated, which kicks off the synthesis of a protein, in this case, melanin. And when you have enough of that functional protein, you get a visible trait that you can see in the mirror. Brown eyes. From code to protein to you. So far, we've been focused mainly on the human cell, but honestly, the most profound and just amazing thing about this code is how far it reaches. So let's zoom back out for a second.
What you're seeing here is just incredible. A bacterium, a strawberry plant, a human being. On the surface, they couldn't be more different. But at the deepest, most fundamental level, their instruction manuals are all written in the exact same language. A, T, C, and G. The only difference is the spelling of the words. It's the same alphabet for all of them. And this leads us to a really powerful conclusion. DNA isn't just a blueprint for an individual organism. It's the chemical thread that connects all life on Earth. It's our shared inheritance, a common language spoken by every single living thing for billions of years. So, I'll leave you with this question to chew on. If a person and a plant and a tiny bacterium all use the exact same four-letter code, what is it about the specific arrangement of those letters that creates all the beautiful, complex, and wild diversity of life we see all around us?